ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविता शाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम्। आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। दक्षिणे लक्ष्मणो यस्य वामे च जनकात्मजा पुरतो मारुतिर्यस्य तं वन्दे रघुनन्दनम्। We are very close to the end of Kishkindha Kanda. We're not done yet. I'm not sure I can be done in the next week or two. We'll try. I'll try my best to get us there. It's almost like a finish line for a new beginning. Where we are is with the great warrior monkeys who are sitting on a plateau by the Vindhya mountain, exhausted, tired, dreadful actually, that their death is for sure, either in the hands of Sugriva, without a doubt, or the other alternative is to just fast unto death, because there is no success. So they are not enthusiastic or enlivened. Of course, except Hanumanji, Jambavan, because they don't give up their enthusiasm or don't wilt in the face of impending failure or perceived failure. But Angada and others somehow are losing hope, and so now are sitting on this plateau, just completely giving up, ready to give up their life, and they have been fasting. And they're discussing that, this situation would not have been even manifest if Ramachandra did not come to the forest. Now, Ramachandra would not have come to the forest if Kaikeyi did not ask her boons and Dasharatha did not acquiesce to them. And if Ramachandra did not come to the forest, his wife SitaDevi would not have been kidnapped by Ravana. Then Ramachandra and Lakshmana Deva would not have met Sugriva, and we would not have been going through this searching activity. And look at where we are. We're about to die. And for these reasons, when Ramachandra and Lakshmana are searching for Sita, they met Jatayu, and Jatayu was severely maimed by that Ravana and gave up his life. And Ramachandra was so sad that in the service of protecting Sri Sita Devi, Jatayu gave up his life. At that moment, out of the blue, if you will, a massive vulture somehow came towards them. They were sitting on a plateau, and this vulture was higher up and could hear what they were saying. So Valmiki Rishi says, Upavishta tute sarve yasmin prayam giristhale. As they were all sitting on the plateau of that hill, Harayoho, all the monkeys, Gridhra Rajah tam desham upachakrame, a king of vultures, like a massive bird, vulture, arrived at that place. Upachakrame, one can say toddled there or somehow showed up or arrived there. Sampati namna tu chira jiva vihangamaha bhrata jatayushah shriman prakhyata balapurusha. So Valmiki Rishi gives us the introduction, but the monkeys don't know yet. Sampati nama, his name is Sampati. And Chirajiva Vihangama, he is a very, very long living bird. And Bharata Jatayushaha, he is the brother of Jatayu. And this Sampati has great bala paurusha, great strength and vigor. And Prakhyata is very famous. He's famous as a strong and vigorous bird. And as he came out of this cave that was higher up, and he heard these monkeys, he hadn't heard exactly what they were speaking, but he knew that they had given up eating and drinking and they were just sitting there. So for a vulture awaits a body that is getting ready to die and then pecks on the dead body. So Sampati said, oh, vidhi kila naram loke vidhanena anuvartate yatha ayam vihikto bhakshyam chirat mahyam upagataha. He says, providentially, sometimes I have to go for the food, to get food, and sometimes food comes to me. That these beings that are sitting here, I can sense that they are ready to give up their life. So this is great blessing of providence upon me, that they have arrived here and they will give up their life and I will eat on them. So how is Sampati going to eat them? All at once? So he says, Paramparanam bhakshisye. I will eat them one after the other. Vanaranam mritam. As one monkey dies, I will eat that. Then the next monkey dies, I will eat that monkey. Because not all the monkeys are of the same strength. Each monkey is going to die at a different time. And so he's already planning, I will eat one after the other. Uvacha etad vakshaha pakshitan niriksha plavangamanam. So that Sampati saw these monkeys and thinking, very good. One by one, these monkeys are going to fall dead and I will eat them. As this great bird arrived, talking about how he's going to eat them, Angada became very restless as soon as he looked up and he saw this massive bird. I mean, these guys themselves are very, very massive. They're not ordinary Vanaras. But Angada became scared. Particularly it says he became breathless. And he looked at Hanumanji and he says, Pashya Gridha apadeshena sakshat vaivasvato yamaha imam desham anuprapto vanaranam vipattaye. Vipatti means misery. And he says, for all of us monkeys, great misery has arrived because when I look at this gigantic bird, I am remembering Yamaraj, the son of Suryadeva. Sakshat Vaivasvato Yamaha. Meaning, death has arrived. And then he says, look, Hanumanji, we neither fulfilled Ramachandra's order, Ramachandra's desire, nor did we fulfill Sugriva's order. And yet, for some unknown reason, this great catastrophe has arrived. Agyataha vipattihi sahasa agataha. Sahasa means suddenly, abruptly. Agataha has arrived. And then Angada is talking to Hanuman and addressing the rest of the monkeys. Vaidehyaha priyakamena kritam karma jatayusha gridhra rajena yat tatra shrutvam vaha tat asheshataha. Because that big, gigantic bird reminds Angada of Jatayu. And he says, all of you have heard, right? What happened to Jatayu when he tried to offer some service to Vaidehi, the daughter of king of Videha. And he says, like that, even the ones that took birth in animal species, like Jatayu, birds, animals, they're all doing what is needed for Ramachandra at the risk of their own lives. I mean, Ramachandra is such an amazing, amazing personality that could draw out service from birds, monkeys, deer, in fact, even the trees. And he says that we are ready to give up our lives, although we are born in animal kingdom. And yet, we have to leave our bodies at this point. I had thought I can give up my body through fasting. When I look at this bird, I know for a fact that I'm going to be pecked and pierced and ripped apart. Now, Jatayu did his part. And we also have been searching all the forests, caves, rivers, trees, tree hollows, etc., gardens, and thinking of Jatayu that was killed by Ravana. Sri Ramachandra knew that because he met Jatayu, Jatayu was actually a very happy soul, although he was killed. And Jatayu had no fear of Sugriva because he was on his own. And he says that because Jatayu died, because Ramachandra came to the forest, because Dasharatha sent him there. So now we are in this situation. I see death either way. Either I'm fasting to death or this bird's going to eat me soon. Look at all the situation that we have come into. Now, the context here is Angada is saying that our death has arrived for no reason of ours. This is someone else's story. That is Ramachandra, Dasharatha, Kaikeyi, there in the forest, Sita being kidnapped by Ravana. And look at us, we are the sort of collateral damage. We are in this situation. I mean, he's not complaining, he's just expressing that how life sometimes deals us bad cards for inexplicable reasons. And when someone else is going through a difficulty, by the fact of our either being related to them or being friends of theirs, somehow or the other, we get roped into their problems or their difficulty. That's just the nature of life. And as these monkeys are half laying down on the ground, talking about how life is coming to an end, how that great Jatayu, who had actually nothing to do with Ramachandra or Sita, they just met in the forest, but he lost his life because he was protecting Sita. Then this big bird, Sampati, became restless because he heard the name Jatayu. And as soon as he heard this vulture Sampati very loudly shrieked. I don't know how vultures make noise, but he loudly shrieked because he heard this name Jatayu after a very, very long time. And he always wondered where his brother was. And now he's hearing that perhaps his brother is dead. So he says, who is there? Who is speaking about my brother Jatayu? That Jatayu is dearer to me than my own life, and somebody is saying that he's been killed. How is it possible that my brother, who's the vulture, comes to face off with a demon in Janasthan? I'm hearing about my brother after a very, very long time. Namadheyam idam bhratuhu chirasya adya maya shrutam. I'm hearing the name of my brother Chirasya after a long time. Adya, now, maya shrutam is being heard by me. So he says, I want to get down from this peak that I'm on. I want to be with you. Because when I heard about my brother, I want to hear even more praise of his greatness. I want to know how and why. I want the details. Don't just say he was killed. I want to hear the details because he's such a reverential person. So then he asked the monkeys from atop, who is this Ramachandra? This eldest son of Dasharatha? How did he become a friend of my brother? And how did Dasharatha die? And he tells the monkeys, I cannot spread my wings and fly down because the rays of the sun have burnt my wings. So can you please lower me down? And I want to sit with you and hear the story of Jatayu. Now, a sidebar is, although the vulture by nature is to prey and eat these monkeys, and they are actually against each other by nature, because of the description of Sri Ramachandra, Ram Katha, and the story of their pure devotee Jatayu, these two opposing elements actually become friends. Their animosity goes away. This is the potency of Sri Ram Katha, that if two parties are opposing to each other, perhaps one ready to kill or eat the other, but among human beings, we say in quarrel or in disagreement or in a fight with each other, the solution is Katha of the Supreme Lord. Especially Ram Katha. Sri Ram Katha is such a potent medicine that it dissolves the animosity and makes that animosity transform into a nectarian friendship. And so the monkeys now, who thought this Sampati is going to kill them, actually are going to help him come down and sit with him. We know this from at least one situation where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as he's traveling through the forest of Jharikhanda, because he was chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, the Hare Krishna mantra, all the animals that are generally against each other, one is a predator, the other is predated upon, actually became friends. And they were dancing together with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu around him. Once Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj, in a very sort of tongue-in-cheek way, was explaining that in everybody's home, there is some room for or some opportunity for quarrel, just by nature of being who one is. And he says that even Lord Shiva and Parvati, the most divine and the supreme couple in the universe, are not free of such risk. And he says, just look at their family setup. He sits under a banyan tree. She awards the richest of things to her devotees. One is extremely opulent, the other barely wears any clothes and sits under a banyan tree in meditation. And in their home, all their vehicles that are there actually don't agree with each other. The vehicle of Parvati Devi or Durga Devi is a tiger or a lion. The vehicle of Lord Shiva is Nandi, a bull. The vehicle of Ganesha is a mouse. The vehicle of Kartikeya is a peacock. And all of this together in one household by nature are against each other. The lion or tiger can always eye the bull. The peacock is always looking at the snakes on Lord Shiva's body. The snakes are afraid on one hand, but on the other hand, the snakes are looking at the mouse that Ganesha rides on. So like this, although they are by nature against each other, because they are in the presence of Lord Shiva and Parvati, and Lord Shiva is always chanting the holy name of Sri Ramachandra, there is no quarrel in that household. So then when Sampati is lowered down by the monkeys, although they are scared that vulture wants to eat us, yet we want to help him, and they bring him down and they narrate the story. And before they narrate the story, they're all giving their introductions. And Angada, who's the leader of that group, says, my grandfather's name was the Riksha Raja. And his son was this mighty monkey, Vali. I am Vali's son. And my father was so valorous that my grandfather gave the kingdom to my father, Vali. Among these great kings is the Ikshvaku dynasty, and in Ikshvaku dynasty comes King Dasharatha. And this Dasharatha Maharaja's eldest son is Sri Rama. And the next brother is Lakshmana, and Ramachandra with his wife Sita Devi were in the forest. Now, while they were in the forest, Ravana abducted Ramachandra's wife Sita Devi from Janasthan. And while he was doing so, this mighty kingly vulture called Jatayu made it difficult for Ravana and would not allow Ravana to take Sita Devi away. Ravana, being younger than Jatayu, Jatayu being significantly older, fought. But Vali fought Jatayu fought very valorously, but couldn't do better than Ravana, and Ravana killed Jatayu and continued with the abduction. And we don't know Ravana where he has gone, we just know he has gone in the southern direction. Then this Ramachandra made friendship with my uncle Sugriva, very intelligent, smart king. And Sugriva got my father killed, became the king, and in turn agreed to help Ramachandra find Sita Devi. So this Sugriva, who became the king, ordered all the monkeys to go in all directions to search for Sita Devi, and we are from the southern battalion. We've come here, and while we were coming here, we entered into this very mystical cave, very, very dark, but inside was very mystical cave. And for a long period that we were there, we've been looking for Sita Devi, and we have now found ourselves here trying to follow Sugriva's order, which we haven't been able to. So we have decided to fast unto death because we are not able to go back to Sugriva, nor have we found Sita Devi. And that's the story Angada narrates to Sampati. Iti uktah karunam vakyam vanare tyakta jivitahi sa bhashpo vanaran gridhra prativacha mahasvanah. In a very big, great, thundering voice, Sampati replied when he heard this tear-filled, sad story of Angada. And he said, "O monkeys, that Jatayu who died in the hands of Ravana is my younger brother, Jatayu. Now that I've heard that my brother has been killed, I don't have the wings to fly and go and attack this Ravana and avenge my brother's death. Let me tell you my story. A very, very long time ago, when Indra and Vritrasura, that we hear about in the sixth canto, when they were fighting, at the same time, or around that time, my brother and I, we were very, of course, younger, and young men, young boys like to flex their strength and muscles and sort of demonstrate it for each other. So we started flying higher in the sky. And because we were sportive and competitive, we were trying to one up each other, going higher and higher into the sky. And we didn't catch a note of time that it had become noontime, but the sun is on its zenith, very, very powerful, hot like anything. And we went so high that the heat of the sun was going to scorch us. And as we went higher and higher, and it was becoming so hot, I noticed that my brother could get burnt by the sun rays. So I went above him and opened my wings to protect my younger brother. So I'm so grateful that my brother got protected, but the sun's rays have burnt my wings completely. And I fell to the ground. And I fell on this Mount Vindhya. And since then, I've been here. Of course, my brother has flown to other places. And then he said that when I was living in such a situation, I've been here all this while. Now that you've told me about my brother Jatayu, I am sad that he died. But I'm very proud of him that he died in a very, very glorious way, offering service to Ramachandra. So then Sampati said, I wish to render some service to Sri Ramachandra. So here's what he says. Nirdhakta paksho gridro aham gataviryaha lavangamaha vang matrena tu ramasya karisye sahyam uttamam. Vang matrena. He says, only by speech I can use my words in the service of Sri Ramachandra. In the Bhagavatam, there's a beautiful verse when Krishna and Balrama are walking through the forest of Vrindavan. He looks at these wonderful trees that are bowing down by the weight of their fruits, as if great sages endowed with wonderful knowledge bow down with humility. Krishna says, Etavad janma saphalyam dehinamiha dehishu praner arther diya vacha shreya acharanam sada. That one should make one's life successful by at least one of these four. Praner, by offering their life in the service of the Supreme Lord. Arther, by giving their wealth, utilizing the wealth for the benefit of others. Dhya, by engaging their intelligence in propagating means by which people will become self-realized or Krishna conscious. And if nothing else, vachaha, by speaking. Now this Sampati is older, his wings are all burnt, and he cannot offer any service. The only thing he can offer is by the power of his speech. He says, I have gone to see Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Pata. I've seen all of that. I've seen all the lands covered by the great Vamana. I have seen the entire structure of the universe. So I want to offer this service to Sri Ramachandra, because Ravana is not only Ramachandra's enemy, but my brother Jatayu's enemy. So I would like to avenge that death by offering service to Sri Ramachandra. He says, when I was fallen here on the mountain, really unable to move, I saw a great demon, dark color. And he was holding this flash or lightning-like brilliant woman, young woman. So it looked like a flash in the dark cloud. She was very richly dressed, and as she was being dragged, she was loudly calling, Rama, Rama, Lakshmana. Kroshanti Rama, Rama, iti Lakshmana, iti cha Bhamini. Bhamini is this young girl, young woman, crying out loudly the names of Rama and Lakshmana, and she was throwing her ornaments down. Bhoshanani apavidhyanti gatrani cha vidhunvati. This is Maya Drashta. I saw her. And she was so beautiful, dazzling like lightning. I'm thinking that must be Sita. And that demon was Ravana. And this is the same Sita that Ramachandra is looking for. And he said, this Ravana is the brother of Kubera, and he lives in Lanka. I mean, this is the most vital piece of information that makes the entire Ramayana alive at this point. Because they have lost all hope. They don't know where to look. And this one bird giving one word of advice solves pretty much the whole problem. I mean, solves not because it has been done, but now there can be a plan. He says she might be in Lanka. And he describes that it is a lavish, opulent city built by Vishwakarma, the divine architect. It has all these buildings studded with jewels and rubies and diamonds and made with gold and silver and marble. And you cannot imagine how beautiful Lanka is. And there is Sita sitting in a yellowish golden garment in Ravana's palace, being harassed by the demonesses. You can find the daughter of Mithila, daughter of the king of Mithila, right there. So he tells them, oh monkeys, from here, you should go to the southern tip of land. And from there, 100 yojanas away is Lanka. But the way Ravana has protected Lanka is that it is an island. That ocean is very difficult to cross. But quickly, rush and get there. Somehow, I'm sensing that you will find Sita. And you will come back successful. And he gives a description that each bird flies at different levels because each bird has a limit. So he says that the small Kulinga birds or sparrows can go only up to one level because they are sustaining on food grains. Higher than that are the birds that eat on roadkill and leftovers like crows and pigeons, or even parrots. Sparrows, crows, pigeons and parrots. Higher than that are greater birds called the Kurara, Karauncha birds like cranes and herons. Higher than that is where the hawks fly. And higher than that is where the vultures fly. Higher than the vultures fly the swans, who are very, very strong, handsome, youthful, and by birth are very majestic. Higher than those swans fly the great birds, the son of Vinata, Garuda himself, and Garuda's brother Anuru or Aruna. Another name is Aruna or Anuru. Anuru means one who doesn't have thighs. Uru is thigh, Anuru has no thighs. He's the chariot driver of Lord Surya Deva. And he says, because we vultures have our descents from Vinata, the great, we are also able to soar and fly at the level that Garuda flies. So he says, I have a feeling that you will come back. My brother's death will not go in vain. It will have some purpose and successful. And he said, from here, I'm able to see Janaki, SitaDevi, because our power of vision is very, very strong, as excellent as what Garuda has. So Vanaras, please, because I can see that far, I'm telling you, now would be the time to go. Okay, go and bring back, see, find the where Sita Devi is. And then he says, please take me to the shore of the ocean so I can offer some water for my departed brother. It is called offering or oblations of water, udaka. Even in Srimad Bhagavatam, we see Yudhishthira Maharaj along with the Pandavas, Kunti Devi, even Krishna, they go to the shore of the river to offer water to all of the Kauravas that have passed away. Because after the death of a person, according to Garuda Purana, the subtle body needs to travel southwards for most. And the first thing that subtle body has is a sense of thirst and later hunger. And so it is the duty of the next generation, the son particularly, to offer water, pinda and udaka. So it's called pindodaka, to this passed away relative, particularly parents, so that they can make their journey to Pitraloka safely and from there on get on to their next destination. Beyond this, I don't know too much, so please don't ask me. I'm not an expert on that topic. I'm not an expert on any topic. It's just easier to read on from the screen. So with this way, Sampati out of the blue came to help the monkeys. And so one of the additional lessons is one may lose hope, but the Lord who has empowered one to succeed, we all are meant to succeed because the intention is there. Help comes from unknown, unforeseen quarters. And it may be just a little word of encouragement, a little idea that may solve a big problem, something, it may be very, very infinitesimal, perhaps something very simple, but it can solve mighty issues. And so that's the way the Lord helps in different ways. After all, they are on the path of fulfilling Sri Ramachandra's desire under the order of Sugriva. So let's see if there are any thoughts, comments, reflections from your side.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is Kirti here. Thank you so much for the nice class. I was thinking of two things, Prabhuji. One was Angada, when he was talking to Sampati about Sugriva, although he didn't have very nice words in the previous class when he was describing about Sugriva, but in his conversation with Sampati, he didn't mention anything. In fact, he said his he glorified Sugriva. At least that's the sense I got.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't air dirty laundry in front of strangers. Plus,
That I felt was.
Plus Hanumanji's words have worked on him when he's now thinking I'm dying. Of course, there's no commentary or elaboration on it. So, I'm on the limb, going out on the limb on this one. But he's meeting Sampati. Sampati wants to know about Jatayu and Ramachandra and why they're here.
The other thing, sorry.
What's the other one?
The other one I was thinking was when you said help may come in different forms and in unexpected ways. When I reflect upon that, in this case, it was very clear their objective was to find Sita. In my case, how do I discern something as favorable or useful? Whereas, because there may be so many instructions and so much noise may be coming, people give advice even when it's not solicited. So how do I discern that, this is something that is useful and this is not?
Well, we are all endowed with common sense and intelligence. And we have to, just because information is flowing in, we need to categorize it internally as useful or useless. According to Chanakya Pandit, you can take advice from a fool if it is beneficial. You can pick gold from a dirty place, or even marry a girl even if she doesn't come from a great lineage, but if she's qualified, in the sense that good advice, prosperity can come in any. It is our job to find that nugget of useful information if it's there. Sometimes, I'm always reminded, whenever I hear this, I'm reminded of Prabhupada's story. And this is Satsarup Maharaj narrating. That once Prabhupada was in the airport, Satsarup Maharaj was his assistant at that time. And Prabhupada was already at the check-in counter, but Satsarup Maharaj was way back somewhere because they had gotten delayed. So he was running through the airport. And because his mind was simply focused on, I need to get to Prabhupada, he was unaware or negligent of people there, and he was sort of just running through, bumping, pushing it. He reached almost near the gate and he was about to topple an elderly lady. And she looked at him and said, "Oh, young man, is this what they teach you?" And he said, I was so, I'm paraphrasing, not exactly verbatim, but he said, I stopped in my tracks because I realized that in the hurry to please Prabhupada and be there, I'm not representing Srila Prabhupada. But from an old lady who we generally think of as a karmi, some words brought so much wisdom that I'm actually representing Prabhupada, even when I'm doing anything else. So it's important that it may have come from her, but it awakened in him something very wonderful. The story of Bilva Mangal Thakur, the prostitute that he went to, Chintamani, said something like that. Tulsidas Goswami, his wife, he was so enamored by, very similar to story of Bilva Mangal Thakur, went in the middle of a storm to see her. And she said, you couldn't wait 2 days? I was anyway coming back home. That eagerness, if you had for Sri Ramachandra, and the light bulb went on for both Bilva Mangal Thakur and Tulsidas Goswami, that they went on to becoming the greatest of poets and wrote fantastic books. One wrote Krishna Karnamrita, the other wrote Ramcharitmanasa, and so many other volumes of books both wrote. But it was spoken by someone else. So it all depends. It may not be this grandiose thing. On a day-to-day basis, some things may click and we may be able to solve.
If you have time, I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
I see what you say, and my thoughts are going to Ravana. He also got fantastic advice from many quarters, his brother and also Maricha. However, it just didn't click, or it went in a different direction for him. Whereas you gave so many other examples for them, this was like an aha moment, and they could, center themselves or realign. What is it that guides them? I mean, advice can come from many forms, from many quarters as well. For some, it can take them in a wrong direction, and some it can propel them in the right course.
So let's take our attention to the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that lust covers knowledge. Jnana avritena. In Ravana's case, because lust was burning like anything, good advice couldn't get through. So we take examples of these great personalities instead of Ravana, because they're meant to remind us that if there is, I'm saying if there is, the conditioned soul, when there is lust, it covers the intelligence. So our job every day is to scrub at that lust by the holy name, by our sadhana, so that advice, good advice, can seep through, that we become attractors of good advice instead of attractors of bad advice. Or more than attracted, that we are attracted to good advice rather than being attracted to bad advice. Or repelling good advice, unfortunately, instead of.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Quick follow-up.
Hold on one second. Let's see if someone else has. If not, then we'll continue. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
I guess no one. Kirti, your day.
Prabhuji, when you were saying about last, Bilva Mangal Thakur was also
lusty.
Yeah, but somehow it worked for him when he heard it from her.
Right. So lust and choice are always there. So the same lust was there at a point where he jumped into the river, he faced off the storm, the rising tide in the river, crossed, got hold of a snake, climbed the wall, banged the door. It was all there. Somehow the name of Sri Ramachandra or Sri Krishna pierced for them, because at that point he could have not heard it too, but he heard it. His own choice is there too. So we're constantly, the mind and intelligence are working in such a way that the mind is accepting and rejecting. In this case, he accepted. But in Bilva Mangal Thakur's case, the story continues that he got attacked by lust again. Even after leaving home and going northwards, he got attacked again. But then, again, I mean, so it's a constant battle, back and forth battle. But that's what it means to be determined and being in the shelter of the Supreme Lord. And continuing our sadhana. Our determination, the strength comes from the Lord's strength, not our strength. So each morning our sadhana is to plug in. There's like this little device, needs electricity or power from the source. So it has to be charged. And if I don't plug it in, it works up until the point where the charge is over and then it's useless. So this is that connection that we're all quite familiar with.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Very well, very well.
So, Prabhu, where's the follow-up question then? You told that there's a lust and a choice, and every morning you have to plug it up. But we often heard in Bhagavad Gita that yatato api kaunteya purushasya vipashyita, that even vipashyita, even the great soul, then what is that? There's other vachanchalai mana Krishna pramati balavattatam. So those, of course, you're engaged in devotion service. Is there possibility that waves and comes and goes, and what is the solution of that waves comes? How should we stop that greed, lust, envy, pride? Is there any way we can stop it, and what state of that devotional service it goes actually?
So two things. You're the Bhagavad Gita expert. So the waves of the material ocean, they don't stop. Their nature is not to stop. But the power of bhakti makes that ocean small and inconsequential. Like a gigantic boat can traverse through the ocean safe and fine. That it becomes like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. And the other one is for the same Chanchalahi Mana Krishna verse, Krishna gives the answer. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena. Those are the two things that are required. Abhyasa, practice. And can great persons have a misstep? Sure. But the great persons become greater because they overcome that misstep. The test of life is not like the school test where once you fail, then you failed all over. It's a very, very or a Christian idea that once you fail, you burn in hell for the rest of eternity. The system that Krishna has created is a very, very forgiving and a very helpful system. That even if one fails, there is methods by which one can become even more successful than otherwise. Take the story of Sri Ramachandra's Guru Vishwamitra. His own generosity was such, yet there were so many obstacles each time, one after the other, one after the other. But he was being driven by his determination. Yet he came to a point where he realized and became such an amazing person that could serve Ramachandra as his guru. So the choice and being there, being committed to the process, keep going is the way. Someday it's going to say to Krishna, this person is genuinely wants to come to me, is helpless, so let me help. The abhyasa is to keep calling for Sri Ramachandra or Sri Krishna's mercy. I mean, how can we, you know the verse better than I do. 7th chapter. Daivihi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. We already declared duratyaya is impossible. And then mameva ye prapadyante mayamitam taranti. So we put all our hope, our prayers in that mameva ye prapadyante. Not so much in Daivi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. If our focus is on the Duratyaya, then that's what. But if our focus is on Maya Metam Tarantite, then that's what it is. I mean, it's a different way of saying instead of being anartha conscious or conscious of the danger that's there, we are conscious of the protection of the Lord. By taking our own measures, of course, but we're conscious of the protection.
Thank you so much for your kind explanation. Very, very well said. And it gives a hope. But one thing that I'm not better Slokarasata than you, or I don't know anything better than you, that was your mercy or glorifying. But you say abhyasena, kanteya. So when you do abhyasena, still that things comes up and up and up and up. That means abhyas is not proper, or it's durataya. Maya is very durataya. How does we understand what is more? Like, abhyas is less, or Maya is stronger?
Neither. It's probably an incomplete assessment of the true nature of this world, or an incomplete or an immature or not fully matured assessment of what the process of bhakti entails. So in the 11th canto, right at when the 24 gurus section is taught, Krishna uses a phrase with Uddhava called Loka Tattva Vichakshana. We used to call it LTV. So it's easier to remember that a person can only cross through when they have good understanding of Loka Tattva, what this world is all about. This Sambandha Jnana is very essential. And yet to develop bhakta thinks that, well, I've been chanting, I've been practicing bhakti for so many years. Why am I being disturbed by the modes of nature? Because the modes of nature we don't understand the nature fully. They are constantly beating at us, at our consciousness. We may have a small boat, yet it's a boat. So it will help. The boat is the lotus feet of the Lord that will help us cross. It doesn't mean that there are no waves in an ocean. The issue is not whether there are waves or not. The issue is whether I'm sinking or not. If I'm sinking, then I need, the first understanding is I have a hole in the boat, or I don't have a boat. So get that boat. Even great, gigantic boats are toppled and tossed, not toppled, tossed in the ocean, sometimes toppled, tossed in the ocean, but they make it because the nature of physics is such, we'll get them there. So it's scientifically, that's why boats move. So the science for us is, however major waves there may be in that ocean, the boat of the feet of the Lord will take us there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The reason everyone glorifies the lotus feet of the Lord is because that is where shelter, protection is. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also saying, Kripaya tava pada pankaja sthita dhuli. At that place is a very safe place. All right, I got to end today because I have to work. So there's a question by Rishita about, does Sampati get his wings back? Yes, there was another story on the side that Sampati was told by a sage that the day he offers some service to the monkeys who come in service of Ramachandra, he'll get his wings back. Now, what is the past lives of Jatayu? I don't know the past lives of Jatayu and Sampati. I'm sorry. You have the expert Shamkun right in your neighborhood, 2 buildings away. I'm sure he knows. Okay, I wish I could continue, but I have to get to work. So we'll pause here until we meet again. We'll send you a text later this week, next week, about how we're going to continue, because Yatra is there, this thing, that thing, we'll figure it out. But thank you very much for joining me and inspiring me and encouraging me, although, it's a little shoddy, yet you're very kind. Thank you. And may our attention go to the great, great servants of the Lord, whom we might be able to offer some service, if not big service, mighty service, just few words that may be accepted by them, and in turn will give us wings to fly. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.